It's been too long since I last updated my list, but finally, I found another cultural manga that goes straight to the top. The same could be said for all the girls in this prison, who drive the boy to awaken his true power and growing 8 tentacles ready to take on any baddie who stands in his way. Everything began 2 weeks ago when the main character was rejected from an unofficial job offer. He wanted to return the favor to the company president, who had been kind enough to get him the offer despite his lack of qualifications. It turns out the blame lies with a sudden pandemic that disrupted everything. As he walks through the streets of Shibuya, his mind filled with dark thoughts, he raises his eyes and finds himself in a completely different place. He's no longer in the city, but standing in an open field. Out of nowhere, a huge bird with sharp claws flies toward him, and in the next second, he's caught and lifted high into the air. At first, he thinks it's just a dream, but the pain he's feeling quickly makes him realize it's real. Thankfully, before he's taken too far above the ground, the bird is struck in the head with an axe, forcing it to release him. The person who saved him appears to be a woman speaking a language he can't understand. Just as he's about to faint, she places a small ball in his mouth, enabling him to comprehend her words. Her name is Panya, and she wants to tend to his wounds. According to Panya's explanation, he is in a different world. However, this situation is not something new for Panya. On rare occasions, some foreigners from other worlds wander into their world. As of right now, there is no way for them to return to their worlds. All that is left is for them to adapt and live their lives in this place. Not sure about what he is supposed to do next, Shimizu decides right now he must find food and a place to sleep. With a cute smile on her face that I can swear hides something deceitful, Panya offers the boy a place to stay in exchange for some service. Lacking experience with women, the boy can't decipher what lies behind her smile and drops to his knees, eagerly begging to work for her. As they arrived, Shimizu was surprised to see the Sea Bastile, a prison managed by the Queendom of Sebek. In short, a prison full of baddies, ready to take the boy's V-card. As Panya is saying, Shimizu will be an unranked prison guard like herself. Hearing that, the boy feels a little bit uneasy, wondering if he would be able to do it, but on second thought, a prison in a place like this seems a little too tranquil. His mind quickly changes when he sees a huge whale emerge from the water, swallowing a pelican. Apparently, this is one of the cutest beasts of the ocean. The kraken is a true beast of the seas, capable of annihilating any naval fleet that comes to defend the area. As they enter inside the prison, the interior looks completely different from what Shimizu had expected. Everything is so pretty. Just thinking about all the types of women they have in here makes my mind loose. Yet, the boy seems to be interested in the job itself, and not the woman wandering around, at least not for now. As for the manual labor in here, the prisoners make a fervent display for the arena crowds or hunt down some dangerous beasts, making this place a prison for the strongest women in this world. Walking on the hall, a new woman prisoner attracts his attention. She is Zena Sebek, a royal family member who's been imprisoned for the crime of patricide. A few moments later, the two arrive in a place that seems pretty devastated, and the boy is left alone for a little bit. After being so well received, the boy wants to give his best and return the favor to Panya. However, a prisoner enters the room he is in. Her name is Gamey, and she wants to know the boy's name. Without losing any time, after finding out his name, the lion-looking woman jumps on him, expressing her desire to play with him a little since there are only women around and nobody planted some seeds in her garden. Apparently, the boy has never planted seeds before. That's why the woman assures him she is going to make this a good experience for both of them. After finishing their gardening session, the boy is left paralyzed on the bed after using his hoe for too long. However, the woman seems not to be pleased enough with the boy's skills and opens its claws, cutting the boy's back as a smile is coming on her face. Turns out, killing him feels better than gardening together. As he is lying down on the ground, Panya enters the room, prompting the boy to ask for help. Unfortunately for him, she turns her eyes away. Panya is Gamey's pet, who listens to whatever she wants. Moreover, nobody will care if a foreigner goes missing since their perfect obe turned into personal playthings. It turns out the boy is not that dull. He tries to stay alive by offering his knowledge and improving their lives. However, in front of Gamey, he is just a moron. This world has these supernatural powers called arts. That's why they don't need knowledge from other worlds. On top of that, foreigners don't have the spirit power necessary to produce arts. With that being said, Shimizu is inferior and nobody needs trash like him. That's why Gamey orders Panyo to throw him in the sea. Without second thoughts, the woman grabs him on her back and throws Shimizu down without glancing at him, even once. Diving down to the bottom of the sea, the boy believes he is about to die, but after something with a huge mouth approached him, the boy woke up on the beach. He starts questioning what is happening. He just got killed, but now a sea creature appears before him, claiming that this is a space it has created. Its name is Karma, the kraken that resides in the ocean. It even knows who Shimizu is, having already read his memories. He swallowed his dying body and now is protecting it. That's why for now, they are in mental bodies. Shimizu's body received a fatal wound and is on the verge of crumbling, but Karma can fix him. However, in exchange for fixing him, Karma wants Shimizu to help his savior, Zena, the woman he had seen earlier in the prison. When Karma was born and extremely weak, he got caught by the people on land because a kraken's body was extremely valuable and legendary armor could be made from it. That's why people tried to abuse it and captured the kraken inside a bowl. But Zena was there and helped him to escape. Recently, he had heard rumors that she, the one who saved him, had been imprisoned in the sea Bastile, and it's Karma's turn to save Zena. Moving straight to the point, he cannot take any action while on land. That's why Karma wants to fuse with Shimizu. Once that happens, the boy will acquire great power, and all his injuries will heal. However, Shimizu is concerned about what will happen with his consciousness and finds out that all Karma will do is give him a body and power. He will continue to be himself. The only thing is that there is no guarantee he is going to return as human after all this. Since Shimizu is the one who would be allowed to continue living on, it means Karma consciousness will disappear, yet he doesn't care. Zena is the one who saved him. She was even punished for doing so. Because of what happened there, Karma swore not to fight with the toes that lived on the surface as long as they didn't attack him. The fact that she saved him is the most important and precious thing for him. With that being said, there is no time to waste, and they should start fusing. Hearing Karma say that one must always pay back the favors received and suggesting he must have the same creed, Shimizu understands that Karma trusts him. That's why he swears to save Zena no matter what it takes. Moments later, up on the prison, Gamey plays with her dog, suggesting the prison is not that bad, and you have the freedom as long as you have power. The only thing is the scary lord who controls everything. However, as she enjoys her moment, somebody shows up from the balcony. Shimizu came back once again to plant those seeds. The tiger woman, who does not need his help anymore, tries to stop him, and oh boy, he had no chance, and what came next is taken out of cultural mangas represented by numbers. And the number for this panel would be 8,888. Observing what just happened with her master, Panya tries to hide, but in vain. Shimizu already saw her, and is now about to throw her down in the water the same way she did with him. Right before touching the water, he grabs her by the leg and brings the woman back up, questioning if she would really do anything. Shimizu now tells her to properly hire him as a prison guard and put him in charge of Zena. The woman suggests she might be able to do that, but as he thinks he will be able to solve this easily, the woman adds that it was decided for Zena to be executed. Later, the boy is sitting in front of Isis, the lord of this place, and looking at her, Kuma is amazed by her beauty. She already read the report and is intrigued by the fact the boy fused with the kraken. After making that remark, Kuma jumps straight to the point and asks to be hired in the Sea Bastille. Hearing the boy's enthusiasm about joining the team, the woman wants to see his strength and get 2 prisoners in the room. Apparently, every prisoner has a seal engraved upon their bodies. If they try to escape from the Bastile or oppose her, their bodies explode with just a flicker of her hand. Moreover, she is able to do other things with them beside insta-killing. She is also able to transform them into powerful monsters. And with the creature she just created, Isis orders Kuma to defeat it. Seeing the boy being reticent, she tells him that the 2 prisoners were serial killers who, even while in prison, were plotting to assassinate her. With that being said, the 2 would end up with the death penalty regardless. Hearing that, Kuma Hearths is more at ease. And when the creature stands in front of him, knowing there is no other way to go around this, he puts on his kraken armor, surprising everyone beholding this. And in a matter of seconds, he penetrates the creature's body, prompting Isis to give me some applause, suggesting she made the prisoner a strong beast, yet he managed to kill it with no problems. Witnessing this, Isis tells Kuma that Bastile is a prison for female convicts, and even the employees are women as well. However, the boy is special, and that's why she will employ him as a prison guard. Looking at him, the boy seemed to be quite disappointed, but he just suggested he got nervous because of how beautiful the woman is. After Isis sends the other 2 away from the room and remains alone with Kuma, she dives head-on into some serious matter. She takes out 3 recipient bottles and instructs the boy to pour some of his liquid inside them, suggesting there could be some side effects after fusing with Kraken. This funny guy thought he could leave and handle it by himself, forgetting this manga has the word smut in the description. After finishing with the fluid extraction, the woman seems pleased and is ready to proceed with the interview. She wants to know how Kuma managed to fuse with Kraken. However, the boy understands that telling her everything is dangerous and keeps most of the stuff hidden, telling her only that a giant squid came close to him when he was about to die in the water, and everything is hazy. For the final question, she asks why Kuma desires to become Zena's prison guard, making him say that he happened to see her in the passageway and got charmed. That's when Isis calls the boy to look out the window, showing him the arena where prisoners are fighting. Apparently, this kind of no-hold-barred fighting is very popular in the Queendom of Sebek. In this place, prisoners with a high rank are allowed many different freedoms within the prison. It's a place where spectators can also make bets on the outcome of the battle. Anyway, in 2 days Zena will stand in that arena as well, but her opponent won't be a prisoner. It would be a ferocious beast that has already killed 12 prisoners and remains undefeated till this day. It is meant to serve as an example to others. The execution of Zena, a patricide and a regicide. Hearing this, Kuma wants to push it back for a few days. Maybe he can figure out a way to escape. However, Isis tells him that is impossible because this is an order from the royal family. However, she would let him be close to her before the execution. With that being said, he is going to be in charge of the 9th goal, to which Zena belongs. A jail is a group of prisoners made out of 6 women. Being their guard, he must make sure to oversee them all properly, and oh boy, he will do that big time. But before he starts putting the corn in the butter, he must meet them. That's why right now, he is in front of the prisoners he will be taking care of, and for some reason there are only 4 instead of 6. I think even the author was not able to think properly while using only one hand to create the story. These 4 women are Miriam, a horned and muscular woman sentenced for 10 years for committing the crime of bodily injury. Then comes a black elf named Polina, sentenced for 7 years for destruction by explosion. Zena for 100 years for committing regicide and parricide. And lastly, Keket was sentenced for 999 years for committing mass murder, among other things. Seeing how casually they spoke to him surprises Kuma, who is now being stared at by Zena, who gives him a huge smile before attacking him, looking to see what he is made out of. But the boy was not ready at all. It is not like he's inside a prison, and the devil-looking girl hit his head with her strong legs, knocking out the boy. Witnessing this, all the girls gather around, suggesting Zena will be stuck in the solitary for doing that. On the other hand, Kuma lays down on the ground, asking himself if he is going to be able to save Zena from this place. Today marked Kuma's first day as a prison guard. He began his duties by inspecting Hell Prison Number 9, where he had to oversee each prisoner individually. He was somewhat taken aback by how little the female inmates seemed to pay attention to their own security. As Kuma made his way towards Zena's cell, he glanced inside and found her meditating. Zena, sensing Kuma's presence, calmly inquired about his purpose. Kuma replied that he wished to have a conversation. He then put on his Kren armor and proceeded to explain everything to Zena. Kuma told her that he was her ally and was now determined to help her. He also shared that the kraken wanted to repay her for the kindness she had shown in the past. Upon hearing Kuma's explanation, Zena was deeply moved and began to cry. Kuma then asked her why she had been punished. It soon became clear to him that the accusation of Zena murdering her father was false. Zena revealed that her father came from a family of warriors known as the Holy Sword. In her younger years, Zena underwent intense training to inherit both the skills and the prestigious titles. While some considered the training to be a form of abuse, Zena expressed that she had been grateful for it. Despite her father's sternness, he was in fact an awkward man. One day, her father was poisoned, and many nobles, driven by personal vendettas, wrongfully accused Zena of the crime. She tried to prove her innocence, but the verdict was swiftly passed. This is what led to her imprisonment. Zena vowed to never give up until she found her father's true killer and avenged him. Kuma then asked if Zena knew the identity of the perpetrator. Zena answered that it was her cousin, who was aligned with the current queen. Zena also had a legitimate claim to the throne. Kuma concluded that this was all tied to a succession dispute. Zena, though certain of her cousin's involvement, had been unable to gather any evidence. Kuma then asked if she wanted to escape. Zena replied that she didn't think it was possible, as she had a magic seal placed on her by Isis, which felt as though her very soul was bound. If she tried to flee, she would die instantly. Therefore, the only real option for Zena was to rely on herself and win the prison tournament to increase her ranking. She explained that women who reached a certain rank had their sentences reduced. Zena mentioned a general named Rafa, who had won the tournament and proven his innocence, eventually being hailed as a hero. Kuma asked if Zena felt confident she could achieve this, especially with a magical beast waiting for her in just 2 days. Kuma warned her that the beast was terrifying, capable of devouring its opponents in a single bite. But Zena, confident in her abilities and with a lifetime of training in the sword, assured him she would not let the beast defeat her. Kuma was somewhat surprised by the assurance in her voice. 2 days later, on the day of the match, Zena entered the arena with confidence. The crowd cheered excitedly, eager for the battle to begin. Kuma, watching the lively atmosphere, was certain that the victor would earn the crowd's favor. The announcer introduced the fighters, and soon after, the saber-toothed tiger appeared. The announcer declared that the tiger had fought 20 times and never been defeated. Isis, observing from afar, waited for the battle to unfold. Meanwhile, Kuma stood ready, prepared for any unexpected outcome. Having learned new abilities, such as releasing ink in both liquid and gas forms, he decided that he would use his ink if anything went wrong, believing it better than letting Zena die. The fight began. The tiger lunged at Zena, but she remained calm, unleashing her ultimate move and cleaving the beast in two. The audience gasped, shocked by Zena's incredible strength and her ability to defeat the tiger with a single strike. From a distance, Isis smiled, impressed by Zena's power. Kuma, observing from afar, admired her strength and felt confident that she would rise to the top. That night, someone quietly entered the prison castle, moving cautiously towards Zena's cell. Unaware, the intruder didn't realize Kuma had already noticed the intrusion. Realizing the intruder's goal was to kill Zena, Kuma confronted them. The assassin attacked Kuma, but the boy dodged and subdued the intruder, taking them to Zena and asking if she knew the person. Zena didn't recognize the intruder. Kuma explained that someone was trying to kill her, but Zena felt she could protect herself. Kuma insisted that no matter how strong she was, she wouldn't be able to hold out if she was cornered. Zena was concerned that Kuma would be in danger if he kept protecting her, but the boy reassured her and promised to protect her. He told her to sleep, and he left to report the attack. Zena, hearing Kuma's words, was moved, as no one had ever said such things to her before, and she blushed. One day, as Kuma was walking down the prison corridor, he saw Pina tapping on the iron bars. She called out to him. The boy approached, and she handed him a piece of paper with a list of medicinal plants. Pina asked Kuma to gather these plants for her research. He checked the list to see if any of the plants were against the rules. There were none, so Kuma agreed to bring them at sunset. He then realized there were a lot of plants on the list, and it would be hard to carry them all. She offered to pay for the service. Kuma, tempted by the offer, agreed. Pina was pleased with how easily he accepted, making her believe she could order him around, paying him before this arrive. It seems like the boy glances at her like a lion ready to have a feast. Pina blushed, feeling embarrassed. He then told her it was just payment, so there was no need to be embarrassed. With a red face, Pina thought Kuma might be more interested in her than she had assumed. Knowing he had received only part of his reward, he acknowledged the contract and promised to return the items by sunset. Kuma thought it was important to maintain good relationships with all the prisoners. As he walked past Zena's cell, Zena called out to him. She wanted to show him a painting she had drawn overnight. Kuma looked at the painting and noticed it was different from his usual image. Zena explained that she had drawn him with all her heart, as warriors used their pictures as talismans. She said Kuma could keep it. He thanked Zena, and she smiled sweetly at him. The boy realized that his relationship with Zena was growing closer, and she trusted him. Zena then asked if Kuma was going to the arena that day. He replied that he would, as today was Miriam's fight. In the arena, Miriam walked in with confidence. Kuma wonders if she is nervous, but it's not like the girl hates fighting. She is ready to show him how passionate her way of fighting can be. The duel began, and the announcer introduced each fighter. Miriam's opponent was a skilled fighter with remarkable intelligence and abilities. Kuma read through the handbook about the rankings, noting that the first round of the fight was a point battle that lasted for several days. Everything depended on the results of the fight. The battle started, and Miriam quickly ran toward Litong ready to punch her. Litong calmly parried all of her attacks. Miriam threw a series of punches, but after a while, Litong caught her hand and slammed the woman down. Miriam quickly retaliated with a strong kick to her stomach. Litong saw that she felt no pain and was not getting tired. Miriam continued to punch her, causing Litong to stumble. Litong stood up and said the real fight would begin now. She unleashed her special technique, sharp web threads, using them to entangle Miriam. She, however, wasn't defeated and used her special technique, the wheel's skill, to avoid the attacks. The web could explode if it touched her. Miriam threw a wheel at Litong, but she quickly deployed her defensive technique, a web shield. Unaware of it, Miriam didn't realize that Litong had already set traps around her, causing the webs to catching her. With the trap set, Miriam was overwhelmed, and she lost the fight. In the training area, Miriam fumed over her recent defeat, vowing to beat Written next time. While flipping through the data book, Kuma noted that she had lost 3 out of 7 matches. She argued that the higher her rank, the tougher her opponents became. What irritated her most was that they always resorted to dirty tricks. He calmly pointed out that her losses stemmed from fighting recklessly without thinking clearly. If only she could remain calm, Kuma thought, her chances of winning might improve. However, she countered that she had stopped using underhanded tactics, though it hadn't changed the outcome. With an air of arrogance, he declared that he could defeat her in seconds. His bold claim sparked her anger, and she retorted that she could attack him whenever she wanted. He welcomed her challenge, framing it as a training session. Excited, she prepared to strike, while he, exuding confidence, remained calm. She launched herself at him without hesitation. He stood still, activating his armor, and cautioned her against such impulsive moves. Using his tentacles, he launched an attack, which she deftly parried. Unbeknownst to her, she had already fallen into his trap. Kuma caught her with his tentacle arms, suggesting she couldn't get free and that this was his win. Moreover, the girl said she would make him cry while embarrassing him. Too bad, because now she's going to get that. Blushing really hard, she didn't expect someone to actually do that. He advised her to stop lunging at enemies recklessly, calling it a bad habit. She immediately protested, claiming it was her fighting style. Undeterred, he scolded her, warning that she would continue to lose unless she adapted. When he heard her say that getting all hot-headed was her way of rolling, Kuma thought of something. How about trying to use his squid powers? This would make her endure some embarrassing moments, but the girl didn't give a damn. She was ready to take it. She was ready to take the embarrassment. As the ranked battles continued, Keket won her fight without problems, while Zena secured victory after a string of successful matches. In their cell, Pina teased Miriam, pointing out she was the only one in the 9th jail who lost a fight, pulling them down. The remark infuriated her, especially since Pina hadn't fought at all. Pina casually explained that she avoided arena battles, feeling out of place among the rowdy prisoners. Furious, Miriam promised to win her next match. Paulina, hearing that, believed she gave up unusually easily. Later inside Kuma's room, they were at it again. The girl was taking her squid protein to maintain her calm during fights. It had been 4 days since the two started their biting sessions, and Kuma wonders if Miriam noticed any changes. Turns out, the effects were visible, as she managed to end her discussion with Paulina in a snap. Now more composed, she felt optimistic about her next fight, knowing her friends were counting on her. Curious, he asked what crime had landed her in prison. She confessed to attacking a nobleman who had insulted her friend, earning her a 10-year sentence. He was skeptical at first, but eventually believed her when she insisted it was the only crime she had committed. Hearing this, he laughed, relieved. She blushed, embarrassed by his reaction, but he reassured her that he liked the version of her he saw now. She quietly thanked him. It's time for the next fight, and Miriam, despite her 3 losses, entered the arena with a newfound calm. Today she's going to fight against a woman dwarf named Nelly with same as her 7 wins and 3 loses. The fight started, and Nelly used her ball skill. I know you wish she would have used the skill on yours, but this time she controlled metal balls to attack Miriam. Miriam blocked them with her own arts. In the next round, Nelly used a barrage of shots, which slightly cornered Miriam. However, Miriam became more focused and managed to block all the shots with perfect movements using her will technique. Kuma, watching the match, noticed that Miriam was repeatedly activating her wheel at high speed. Miriam then prepared to deliver a finishing blow. Nelly, realizing Miriam had adjusted to her metal shots, shot smaller metal balls aimed at Miriam's legs. It seemed like Miriam couldn't block this, but thanks to the calmness she had gained, she avoided the balls and attacked Nelly, causing Nelly to lose. Finally, after a series of losses, Miriam won her fight. Kuma, watching from afar, smiled, proud of her accomplishment. That evening, Kuma visited Miriam to celebrate her victory. Kuma, eager to experiment with his powers, made his body transparent. Miriam was amazed at seeing Kuma becoming invisible. However, she noticed there were still parts of him that weren't fully transparent, meaning Kuma hadn't perfected the skill yet. Kuma returned to his original form and removed his armor, saying he still needed more practice. Suddenly, Miriam grabbed Kuma's hand and tentacle. Kuma was surprised because Miriam didn't have a fight scheduled for the next day, so she didn't need to consume his tentacle today. But Miriam really wanted it because she couldn't calm down without it. Kuma reluctantly refused, explaining that his body became sticky and more sensitive after becoming transparent, and it was better if Miriam didn't touch him. Miriam didn't care and insisted. She forced Kuma to release his tentacle, and as she pulled his slimy hand, Kuma felt a shiver through his whole body when Miriam bit his shoulder. He couldn't control himself and took the lead, worrying the girl, who was amazed because Kuma could see femininity in her. In the next moment, while saying she was cute, everything turned blank, and something I can hear from my neighbors every Thursday night seemed to be happening in that cell. In the Seb Kingdom's palace, Princess Farida Seb secretly met with Isis, the head of the prison guards. Farida was curious about what Isis had to say. Stepping closer, asked what Isis was holding. Isis explained that the infiltrator had been captured after trying to kill Zena. Using her powers, Isis had shrunk him and then interrogated him. To their surprise, the infiltrator had provided more than they expected. Under Isis's command, the infiltrator was forced to reveal everything. With a trembling voice, the infiltrator admitted that it was Farida who had ordered the attack. He confessed that she had halted the kingdom's military action to prevent Zena from rising as the main contender for the throne, thanks to her exceptional abilities. Farida, who feared losing her position, had planned to eliminate Zena to claim the throne for herself. In the Seb Kingdom, the princess's followers were essential for securing the throne. A princess without followers could never rule as queen. With pride, Farida asked Isis if she believed the infiltrator's claims. Isis answered that although there was no solid proof, everything the infiltrator had said was unfounded. Moreover, Farida was now the clear heir to the throne. Isis then handed the infiltrator over to Farida, offering her the chance to deal with him as she wished. The infiltrator, in agony from the ongoing torture, begged for a swift death. Farida, however, simply gazed down at him with disdain. Isis bowed before Farida with a chilling tone, reminding her that the prison was her domain. She promised to tighten security and eliminate any future threats. Farida, with a stoic expression, nodded in approval. Isis then left, leaving Farida aware that the head of the prison had just delivered a veiled warning. Left alone, Farida seethed with frustration. She had failed to dispose of Zena, realizing too late that she should have executed her immediately instead of sending her to the seaside prison. However, Farida had hesitated. Holding the infiltrator that Isis had delivered, she threw him into a river full of crocodiles. Farida knew she needed to be more cautious in eliminating Zena. If she made any missteps, suspicions would fall on her. Whether she liked it or not, Farida knew she had to involve the 3 Red Sand siblings in the prison to further her plans. Meanwhile, Kuma noticed a group of prisoners gathered around an announcement board. Curious, he approached to see what had caught their attention. The announcement revealed the discovery of a new cave, and they were looking for volunteers to investigate it. Investigating caves and clearing them out was a common task for prisoners in the seaside prison. While the rewards included rank promotions for good results, the job carried high risks. Kuma asked Pina if she was interested in the task. With a smile, Pina replied that cave exploration was one of her specialties. As they were about to leave, the other girls approached from behind, mentioning they'll be going as well since they have some free time until the next match. Some of them even want to get some achievements, however small they may be. Only Keket decides not to join. She wants to bask in the cheers of spectators as she clashes with opponents in the arena. After all, that's just the kind of person she is. Moving to another place, while wondering what guards do during times like this, Kuma finds his answer. The lady enjoys a glass of wine and mentions that guards must accompany prisoners when they go outside. That's good, since the boy might protect Zena. However, he can't understand why he's being used as a chair. It seems he's not the kind of guy who enjoys having his knees red from being pressed by 2 well-proportioned, warm, meaty spheres. Apparently, elves are a species that subconsciously mount others. There's no deeper reason. And gosh, slap me in the face and show me where elves live, 'cause I've got a saddle on my face shouting, "Mount me." When the lady suggests she can get off if he refuses, Kuma knows that's something he shouldn't allow. He loudly says he'd like to have her on his back. He'll obey her command. As she presses that ass down harder than before, the boy wonders if it's really okay for inmates to be taken outside, since they could die. But that's fine. She changed the rules of their prison seals. Trying to escape or rebel now means instant death. Therefore, escaping prison during outings is no longer an option. However, since this is Kuma's first outing, he'll have another prison guard accompany him. Panya will act as his advisor. Moving a bit into the future, the group can be seen on the bridge heading toward their destination. Apparently, Pan desires to make the strong Kuma bring her under his protection. Meanwhile, from afar, someone is observing Zena. Looks like a group of assassins have been waiting for her to leave the prison. Later, the group is inside a large cavern, with Pan leading in front, holding a lamp in her tiny hands. Behind, Kuma wonders if monsters might appear. That's obvious, so they're limited on medicinal herbs and should be careful. Right now, Paulina is going to map out the structure of the cavern. Everyone else has to go and collect insects and plants. While there, Kuma approaches Zena, who is near the edge, and tells her to be careful since the place is slippery. That makes her smile. He's so meticulous in worrying about her well-being. If he keeps on doing this, who knows what else might become slippery? Seeing this flirty scene between the two, Miriam gets annoyed and wonders why that idiot is fawning all over Zena. Realizing she's getting jealous, she freaks out, until the long-eared woman tells her to hurry up and start gathering what Paulina asked for. As they keep collecting materials, Kuma brings a huge mushroom that's instantly sucked into a magic bag. He finds it a useful tool. It condenses things and lets you carry them around. It's made from monster materials. Paulina's dream is to invent something on par with that. Its name is Instantaneous Movement Device. However, her laboratory was caught in a huge explosion during an experiment. That was the moment she got apprehended. Yet, she doesn't seem to give up. Someday, she will invent it. After all, it's not her only dream. Kuma smiles and says it'd be nice if she did. The woman replies that's exactly why Paulina has to get out of the sea bastile. Then, she adds something that supercharges Kuma's motivation. She'll give him a Bishujo Dark Elf reward if he's a big help. That was all Kuma needed to hear. His heart starts pounding, blood rushing through his veins. He works harder than anyone else. Every man's dream is to get a taste of that Dark Elf reward. And this woman? She'll keep using him as she pleases in the future. Since they're done investigating this area, they decide to go even deeper. But as they walk, something starts to bother Kuma. In the next moment, someone appears behind him and pierces his chest. They've been ambushed. A band of assassins appeared and took them all down. This group is made up of Sukaku, a big bulky guy, Hud, an elf who seems to be focusing on his magical abilities, and lastly, a panther-looking creature, Yakin. Apparently, they're the three Kusa brothers, and when seeing them, Pam freaks out, knowing they're in the top 3 of villains with the highest bounties on their heads. Apparently, these 3 are aiming for Zena's head. Standing up, all hurt, Zena is not going to give up, and one of the assassins decides they will deal with the others once Zena goes down. Paulina is in a critical state, yet she crawls using some healing herbs all the way to Kuma, wondering if he didn't fuse with Kraken. Once she arrives next to him, the woman grabs them tightly and forces them inside the boy's mouth, asking to see that life force of his. Meanwhile, Zena is surrounded by the 3 assassins, who realize she is on a whole other level. However, from behind them, a huge light can be seen manifesting. Kuma has just fully changed into his Kraken form, attracting everybody's attention. While the assassins believe that it's just a squid, Kuma mentions there is no camouflaging now. The boy jumps directly toward the elf, who believes Kuma is an idiot since he's going to do nothing but pray to his sleep arts. But then an issue arises for the cheeky elf, who is now being blinded by the squid that luminesces too brightly. Yet, another assassin manages to penetrate his body with a sword using only his mind's eye. However, he is surprised to see Kuma has enough life force not to die from that attack. But the match is decided since it's a 2 versus 1 right now. Hearing that, Kuma mentions it's a 1-on-1. Looking behind, the assassin observes his panther brother was stabbed by a knife. Apparently, Kuma stole the knife with his tentacle the moment he punched his face. Seeing this, Sukaku, the leader of the assassins, gets really angered and mentions that the difference between this skill of his and Kuma's is clear as day. Kuma is still in checkmate. Yet, Kuma is well aware of the difference in their skills from that single exchange of blows. That is why he's going to force his way to victory. It seems Sukaku is already aware of the boy's tactic, trying to launch a surprise attack at him with those tentacles that he trusted into the ground. However, cheap tricks won't work on him. A squid can't defeat a swordsman. But that's not a cheap trick. It's a trick that will cost Sukaku an arm and a leg. Next moment, Kuma starts making chaos using his tentacles, destroying the cave they are in. His objective was to destroy their footing. He knew there was an underground lake below them since he investigated beforehand. Knowing this is troublesome, Sukaku decides to cut him to pieces before they reach the water. And using the surrounding rocks, he propels himself toward Kuma, who now got the assassin in range. Followed by that, a critical punch is implanted in Sukaku's face, taking the assassin down into the water, where he is being incapacitated by the tentacles. Moments later, Kuma can be seen walking out of the cave, carrying both the women and the assassins with his long and strong tentacles. As he is displaying his charismatic tentacles, Zena mentions how cool Kuma was, her face turning so red it makes me wonder what is inside her head. While Paulina seems to be rather tired after having such a horrid exploration, she mentions apprehending the three Kusa brothers is an incredible achievement. That moment, Kuma's ears giggle. He knows it means he was a great help. Thinking about it, the woman realizes this guy remembered what she said. Later, after arriving back at the prison and giving up the three Kusa brothers, Paulina's sentence was reduced from 7 years to 3 years, making her show a really excited expression. Right now, she's inside the cell with Kuma, who mentions this is great. Moreover, the woman shows some arrogance, mentioning she was in charge of the exploration. Of course, the reward was going to be a big one. Looking at her with those starving eyes, Kuma lets her know he was a great help with that, and he would like his reward. As they are about to start playing some Monopoly, the boy moves closer, and the next moment he steps back, mentioning he was just joking. Protecting the prisoner is a guard's job. He only did what he had to do. If anything, he is thankful to her for saving him with the medicinal herbs. Looking at him, the woman believes that's a nice gesture. But when seeing those huge, colorful, meaty clouds of pleasure, he cannot stop it. Kuma's knees are giving up, putting the boy down as he apologizes, asking Paulina to give him even a small reward. And oh dear, he got his hands on some delicious brownies. Later, inside the boss room, he is being praised for his outstanding performance. Just what you'd expect from the Kraken. However, Kuma knows he is vulnerable if they target him before his transformation. That was laid bare this time around. Therefore, that is why the big boss wants to give him a present. There's a box with 3 tubes having different symbols on them. As he is holding them up above his head, smoke comes out of them, and the 3 assassins show up. Apparently, they swore their loyalty to her in exchange for their lives. She already finished engraving her seal within their bodies. When Kuma does not have use for them, he could simply say come back, and they will return to their tubes. With that being said, he should work them to the bone without reservation. Apparently, the woman has some plans with this gift she just gave him. The boy must learn to make the most of them and get stronger. ISI's ulterior motives hide behind the new power. Another day has come, and Zena is fighting in the arena with a woman that has ball skill. She can play with the balls, some spiky balls. As all the balls are moving simultaneously towards Zena, the woman is using her sword skill, repelling all of them into her opponent's face, and quickly after that, she moves toward the enemy, taking her down swiftly. Once again, Zena won, remaining undefeated for her 3rd consecutive victory. Even B-rank opponents are a breeze for her. Thankfully, there is an excellent medic squad on standby at the arena. So long as prisoners are alive, they can be healed on the spot. Leaving the arena, Kuma gives her the thumbs up, while she leaves mentioning she wants her next match as soon as possible. However, when Kuma tries to tell that to the big boss, she denies it, Things like demanding changes to the match program are not requests prisoners can just make offhand. Questioning around the prison, Kuma comes across the chief prison guard Gasan, who mentions the only prisoners that can have their way are the S-rankers. If not, at the very least, a rank. Followed by that, the chief questions if Kuma got used to their world yet, prompting the boy to mention 1 day has 24 hours and 1 week has 7 days. Those concepts being the same as they were in the previous world has helped him a lot. Followed by that, the chief mentions he might have lost his male functions, but he is still his fellow man. If Kuma needs anything, he should search for him. Hearing all that, the boy believes this is a really kind person. In the training arena, Zena keeps on polishing her skills, even when approached by the other girls, who seem to be in a good mood, congratulating her for the victory and suggesting she will become popular with that way of fighting. They want to invite her to a game of cards. However, Zena seems to be cold, mentioning she should refrain from it. Even when Miriam goes closer, mentioning she can teach her the rules if she doesn't know them, the woman just mentions she can't get herself too deeply involved with any of them, as everybody believes she might be worried about her charges. There is no end to it. She should not worry about that. Followed by that, Miriam tries to get her with them, and Zena bumps out. She pushes the woman away, surprising everybody, and tells them to leave her alone.